Gambit vs E captures f4. Part 4. White pawn to e4. Black pawn to e5. White pawn to f4. Black pawn captures white pawn on f4. White knight from g1 to f3. Black bishop to e7. White bishop to c4. Black bishop to h4 check. White king to f1. Black pawn to d6. White pawn to d4. Black bishop to g4. White bishop captures black pawn on f4. Black queen to f6. White bishop to e3. Black knight from b8 to c6. White knight from b1 to d2. Black king castles queenside. White pawn to g3. Black bishop captures white knight on f3. White knight captures black bishop on f3. Black bishop captures white pawn on g3. White bishop to g5. Black queen to g6. White bishop captures black rook on d8. Black bishop captures white pawn on h2. White bishop to g5. Black pawn to f6. White bishop to e3. Black queen captures white pawn on e4. White queen to e2. Black bishop to g3. White bishop to d3. Black queen to g4. White knight to g1. Black queen to d7. White queen to f3. Black pawn to g6. White queen captures black bishop on g3. Black knight from g8 to e7. White queen to h3. Black pawn to f5. White bishop to g5. Black knight to b4. White rook to e1. Black knight from e7 to c6. White bishop to c4. Black pawn to d5. White bishop to b3. Black knight to a5. White pawn to a. Black knight from b4 to c6. White queen to e3. Black knight captures white bishop on b3. White pawn captures black knight on b3. Black pawn to h5. White knight to f3. Black pawn to b6. White queen to e6. Black queen captures white queen on e6. White rook captures black queen on e6. Black knight to a5. White rook captures black pawn on g6. Black knight captures white pawn on b3. White bishop to f4. Black rook to h7. White rook to g1. Black king to b7. White rook to g7. Black rook captures white rook on g7. White rook captures black rook on g7. And after this move, black resigned.